All right, guys. You know, from being a fixture here on Submission Radio, one of my friends, he just came back from a fun trip down to Florida. Joins me here back on Submission Radio now that he is home to react to some of the craziness from UFC 314 and talk about what's next. Beneil Dariush, welcome back to Submission Radio, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, look, I appreciate you, man. I know it's been a crazy sort of 24, 48 hours for you, but I just got to quickly get your thoughts up first about Alex Volkanovski being able to beat this curse, win that second championship. You know, in his age, no other person was able to do it in that weight class under welterweight. He proved the naysayers wrong, and he did it against a very, very game Diego Lopez, right? How insane was it to see Alex Volkanovski get this done?
I thought that was a fantastic fight, and Alex really showed his overall skill because he had to use everything in the tool bag. It was one of those fights where if he was too aggressive, I think he would have got in trouble. If he only relied on his striking, I think he would have got in trouble. So you see him mixing it up. You don't know when he's gonna fake. You don't know when he's gonna strike. You don't know when he's gonna shoot for takedowns. You don't know when he's gonna push you against the wall to keep you there. And I think that actually made Lopez timid for a long time. And because he was so timid, Alex was able to win a lot of the points and a lot of the rounds because of that. Because at the end, Lopez was like, "Bro, I'm behind. Now I got to go nuts." If he started doing that from the beginning, that would have been a scary fight. I mean, obviously, Volk can finish him earlier because of that, but it ended up being scary anyways in the last two rounds.
Oh yeah, man. He broke his hand early in the fight. He got blinded in one eye later on in the fight, and then he had the blood coming out the other. But were you there live
I
at the
was.
event? Yeah. What was it like watching that live for you?
It was cool, man. There are little things Volk does that I don't really see when I watch him on TV. And this was the second time I've seen him live, and this time I got a much better feel for it because the last time I watched him was against Topuria, and obviously it was a short fight, so I didn't get to see all of his little small like details that he does that are super helpful to his game. Because if you think about it, he's a short guy who plays the outside game. And Lopez is the opposite. He's a tall guy who wants to get in and fight you like a Mexican boxer. So it was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, if I was Lopez, I'd probably work on a bit of an outside game to then build into that inside game a little bit. But I was going to say, what about the fact that now people are really excited about seeing this rematch between Alex and Ilia Topuria? They feel like the old Alex Volkanovski's back, and this rematch would be interesting. I got to ask, from your perspective, do you think if they have a rematch, it looks any different to that first fight, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be different. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's my opinion. Is I don't think that rematch is happening.
Why?
Well, I think it would have to be at 55 because it seems like Ilia doesn't want to go down to 145, and also I'm thinking he doesn't want. Because if you fought him already, you have a lot more experience to work with and a lot of things you could fix. And for him, there's not a whole lot he can make adjustments on. So if I'm Ilia, I'm not going to take rematches unless I have to.
But if that fight does happen, let's say he goes up to 55, loses, then he'll probably have no choice but to come back, right, to 45 and potentially fight the champion. Or he might retire because this is not a guy that's going to hang around for a really long period of time, apparently. But if he does come back and those guys do fight, do you think Volkanovski wins that rematch, or do you think it's still going to be Topuria?
I would say it would be like super close. It'd be one of those things where it could go either way. I would probably lean towards Topuria, but Volk could definitely pull it off. And to be honest, if you watch their first fight, and I mentioned this about both Volk and Max Holloway, they were so focused on the boxing that they allowed the leg kicks to really determine the fight. Once, I think both Volk and Max were getting the better of the hands, and then all of a sudden, Ilia started chopping the legs, and once he started chopping the legs, it really changed the fight. And I think that adjustment alone would make the fight completely different.
It's interesting. Joe Lopez, Alex Volkanovski's head coach, said they worked on a bunch of stuff while he was away from the octagon. And you could tell that when he was fighting Diego Lopez, his exits were a lot cleaner whenever he was kind of going out and resetting. We all remember, with Topuria, he was kind of a little bit up high in the air as he was getting out there. And we've seen guys get caught like that. So I wonder what that rematch would look like. Let me ask you this. What did you think of Paddy Pimblett's performance against Michael Chandler? Let me just preface it by saying, man, I looked like an absolute idiot. I was saying all week long, I was on MMA Fighting. I was on all the pre-shows for everyone. I even did one myself where I even told Luke Thomas where I said, I don't understand what, the big deal with Paddy Pimblett is. I haven't seen any improvements in him. I think Michael Chandler's going to get into the pocket. He's going to land on Pimblett. I think he's got, that veteran experience to pull this one out. And man, was I wrong. That fight, Paddy Pimblett absolutely just shut me down and all the naysayers who said that he didn't have any improvements or anything for Michael Chandler in that fight.
Yeah, so I have to be honest. Like I thought Paddy was going to win, and it's not because I think I think Paddy is just like next level. I think Paddy's obviously very good. It's just I just don't think Chandler's in it anymore. I don't think he trains the way he should. I feel he trains more like, okay, I got to make weight and focuses on, getting in good shape. And then the rest of it is like, oh, I fought for so long. I'll just rely on my experience and pull it off there. But because if you look at it, man, he's getting taken down by Paddy. He's not able to get on the inside. He's not able to do so many things. And every single thing I saw, it was an issue with timing and distance. And the only way you get better at that is sparring. So I get the feeling he's just not doing a whole lot of that. And he's just thinking to himself, I have years of experience and years of fights. I could just get in there and I'll kind of figure it out as I go. That's the feel I'm getting, but I could be wrong. But Paddy obviously looked very clean. Paddy looked like he's been sparring hard. He stayed in good shape. He knew exactly the range he wanted to be at, and he was able to counter Chandler very well. And he knew how to put a break in Chandler's momentum. Every time he would start to pick up momentum, Paddy would throw a front kick, a jab, or just step back, or the flying knees, things like that. So, I mean, obviously, well done, Paddy. But I've been saying this for a while. I don't think Chandler's, I don't think he should be in the top 10.
Some crazy ground and pound as well from Paddy, right? Like he was
Yeah.
beating Michael Chandler. You saw like Michael Chandler, he was like bleeding, and you could he had an option to kind of give in that position and let that choke happen, but he kept fighting. He hung in there, but man, it was brutal, right? Rough scenes there for Chandler when he was on the ground getting pounded like that by Pimblett.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for him. I don't even think he stayed for the decision. I think he just walked away. I don't really know what's going on through his mind right now, but you got to give it to the guy. He is a warrior. He never gives up. He's yeah, he's got a legendary career. You can't deny that. I just don't think. I think his time has passed, and not because he's not physically capable. I just think he's not really motivated to be in there.
What about that?
And I know he's the most motivational guy when he speaks, but it's just not like that. You either got it or you don't. It doesn't matter what words you use or what inspirational quotes you have. If you don't got it, you don't got it. If there's no fire in there, there's no fire in there. You can't speak yourself into having that fire.
Yeah, and also sometimes, you make the money and you get a little bit older, and as a fighter, it's hard to find that fire, right? Like we've seen so many guys lose it, and he's in this position now where he can earn money for his family. So it's almost like you got to talk yourself into kind of continuing, and he was away for that time with this whole Conor McGregor mess. So I understand it was, kind of missed out on a couple of years from his career. Let me ask you this: what about when he punted Paddy Pimblett right in the dick? Did you see that?
That was
him straight in the dick, like. That was the kick that he knocked out Tony Ferguson with, straight in the dick. It was that was like not even a question of if that was a low blow. That I don't know, like that was insane, right? Like right in there. I don't know how
strategic, man. It was strategic. He just figured, he's got to chop him down. And I don't know. I think he was aiming for the head, and somehow he
Come on,
he
man.
he
Come
missed
on. That's like
he mismanaged the distance, and he hit the wrong head.
when he
But
was fighting Dustin Poirier, he said he thought he was grabbing onto his chin when he was grabbing into his mouth and pulling on his mouth guard. Then he punts
yeah,
Paddy Pimblett in the dick. Like, do you
yeah,
think this doesn't really help this? And I mean, Mike Heck brought it up with him during an interview. There's this like notion that Michael Chandler's a little bit of a dirty fighter. There's like montages on the internet of him doing all sorts of crazy stuff like this. Do you think this kind of doesn't help his cause here? This is insane.
it absolutely doesn't. But I mean, it was right away. It wasn't one of those where the other athlete has to go through it. At least this was paused right away, and he's like,
Mm.
"Okay, my bad." The other ones, like Dustin Poirier had to just bite him or something, or I don't remember exactly what happened. Um, it was kind of different, getting poked in the eye and continue to fight, some stuff like that. This was definitely different. I saw Patty complaining about like being hit in the back of the head, or was that a different fight? I can't remember.
Nah, it's similar. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
some hit stuff. Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
that does seem to be his track record, but hopefully we're just making something out of nothing
what do you make
because
of like? Yeah, sorry, go on, dude.
you don't want that to be the guy. Like if that's the end of his career, that's not what we want to remember him for.
No, you don't want to be the guy that punted someone in the dick and then the guy went on a beach up on the ground. Like that's not really That's not very Tony Robbins-esque of you. Hey, let me
Yeah.
ask you this. Like Luke Thomas, some of the guys, some of the commentators, my buddies in the media, they talk about it. Well, why wouldn't you cheat, right? Like at the moment, the system isn't really supporting making people pay. Points aren't being deducted. Guys are getting away with cheating right now in the octagon. What do you make of this notion where it's like, if no one's enforcing it, why wouldn't you cheat if you're trying to win? What do you make of that notion that's out there right now?
I see what they're saying, but it's like man code almost, like
Mm.
there is a morals inside that octagon, and once you start breaking, everybody starts breaking the rules, the game is going to change. So I think in general, most fighters have like an understanding between each other, and they don't do that, and the few that do end up having kind of a bad reputation, similar to Chandler, similar to John Jones, for the eye pokes, I guess, things like that. It's a hard question because I think if it happens more, the referees will start to dock points, but most fighters are they try to have integrity, I would say, and they just don't do that in general.
Yeah, it's a crazy one because it's like people are fighting. It's also the system, right? It's like you're fighting for money for your family. You get 50% more, a lot of these guys, if you win, and all sorts of stuff. Hey, let me ask you this. What do you think is next for Paddy Pimblett with this win?
Uh, if if I'm the UFC and I'm trying to protect Paddy, I think stylistically the best fight for him in the top six, because they're going to be ahead of him. I would go with what I go with.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I would probably go with Dan Hooker, and hear me out, and because Dan Hooker, as dangerous as he is, he's what's it called? He's not one who's going to try to take you down and hold you. So you take that out of the equation. You can take him down. He's not impossible to take down. His submissions are good, but that's not what he specializes in. He specializes in striking and kind of using his distance. And I think an ideal fight would be that fight, because the other guys, let's take Gagey, for example. Gagey's looking to just create car crashes, as he says. Charles Oliveira, very dangerous everywhere the fight goes. I think, stylistically speaking, the best fight would be Dan Hooker.
What do you think of Arman or Ilia Topuria?
I think the issue there would be, well, with Topuria, I think more danger in the striking and grappling. But Arman specifically, Arman's wrestling would be, I think, too much for Paddy. I don't know if he would be able to deal with that kind of wrestling.
You know what else is going to be interesting to see what happens with Islam, right? Because I keep hearing these rumors, like he's waiting to see what happens between Bilal and JDM. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but if, JDM can win, maybe he moves up to welterweight. Maybe there's like an interim title that gets made. And then maybe the UFC goes crazy on something, like puts Paddy Pimblett up for an interim title against someone,
I don't think so, because one, I think as a teammate, if I'm Makachev, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I hope Bilal loses so I can go up. It's kind of silly, and two, bro, Bilal is so good. Like, you have to. I think people need to start recognizing his skill set. I think he has an advantage, big advantage, I would say, in the grappling, and he's not really behind in the striking. Like, I don't see like anything wrong where he would struggle too much with the striking. His striking is just fine. I think he would able to, stand in his own with JDM as long as he needs to.
It's going to be fascinating, though, because, by the way, did you know JDM was training with Alex Volkanovski? These guys are training together for their title fight. So he's over at Freestyle MMA. He's working with Craig Jones to get ready for Bilal. And the interesting thing about JDM is he's a bit of a dark horse, right? Because we don't actually know how good he is. I'm hearing crazy stories about him being much better than what we've seen in the octagon. Apparently, he's got crazy power. I think it's going to make for a really, really good fight. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. So what do you think then happens with Ilia Topuria then, man?
Ilia, I don't know.
Who do you put him up against? Charles doesn't want to fight him.
I've heard rumors.
I don't think they would do Arman, right?
Yeah.
Why would they do Arman?
I think Arman wants to fight him, and Ilia doesn't want to fight Arman, but Ilia would want to fight Charles because Charles is a legend of the sport and things like that. I honestly don't know. I think that the Charles fight makes sense. The Makhachev fight makes sense too for Ilia. I'm not. I wouldn't be like. Yeah, I wouldn't be like, no, don't do that. Yeah, like it's just a tough situation right now. Someone has to give something, basically. That's the way this is gonna go. Someone's gonna be like, you know what? Fine, I'm gonna take this fight even though I don't want to.
Justin Gaethje maybe and Topuria, or you think?
Yeah, that's one option.
Throw some cash at Justin to make him happy, maybe for an international fight. You could argue the only good thing with fighting Topuria, right, even though he's moving up from featherweight. And by the way, I know you put your hand up. I'd love to see you get an opportunity to fight him as well. But the cool thing about fighting Topuria is he's a big name, right? So if you fight him, that's a huge, huge fight. It's a great, huge fight.
I think he's not just a big name. I think he's undefeated. He's got a style that seems impossible to deal with. He's just very good, very, very good. So to have an opportunity to fight like him, fight a guy like him, for me would be amazing. It's so tricky, man. The 55 division, something's gonna have to give where somebody's gonna be not happy with the fight they get. Basically, what I mean by that is Makhachev might be like, fine, I'll fight Ilia, or Ilia says, fine, I'll end up fighting Arman or something like that. Charles is like, fine, I'll fight Ilia. One of those things. It's going to be somebody has to give for everything to fall into place. But I'm really not sure. And there's this other thing, too. If these guys, kind of take too long, somebody else can fall into a title shot. Take for example Justin Gaethje. Take for example Dan Hooker. They're right there. They're super close. And so all these guys say, "Hey, we don't want to fight." UFC is like, "Well, we tried. Here you go. You're fighting this guy. This is the fight that's going to happen now." Dan could get the shot at the title, or more likely Justin, because Dan has already fought Makhachev, and so I think he would need maybe one more fight before he can get that rematch.
Hey, just quickly before we get off the card, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, man. Bryce Mitchell, right? He went out there, he lost against John Silva, but obviously, you're a Christian man yourself. You saw the narratives going into this fight. There was a lot of stuff about religion. Bryce sort of doing those press conferences. There was some hatred towards him for some of his comments. As someone yourself, what was your reaction when you were watching this sort of build up that was happening? The UFC was kind of trying to monetize Bryce a little bit by putting him on this pay-per-view, right, against John Silva. so people could tune in. There were a lot of people that wanted to see him lose. It was kind of a bit of a mess, right? Like going into this fight in terms of the way they built this one.
Yeah, so my thing would be right now, there's a lot of people out there who are like, actually, he's got a lot of supporters too, but a lot of people that are upset with Bryce. I would say this. I would say this is, if you genuinely want to resolve things and not continue in a culture of hate and continue going down this path, I would say you got to give some grace. What I mean by it is like, look, he just lost. He's not in the best place, right? Instead of like kicking the man while he's down, show him some grace and be like, listen, Bryce, your views are a little crazy, but if you want the truth, you want to see what's going on, what really happened, here, come to this museum or do this or do that. I remember when I was both in Europe and Israel, I went to museums, and there's so much history there that will tell you exactly what took place. And so instead of trying to just kind of shit on him right now, I think the best thing you could do is give him some grace and try to teach him. And I think he's not a guy where he's going to be like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I think he would be open to that. I think that's the best approach to it. And then finally, like, seriously, guys, he thinks the earth is flat. You guys have to just give the man, like, you got to work with this guy a little bit. You have to see it's just not, it's not like he's diabolically evil. He has these thoughts that have been pushed for whatever reason on the internet, and he's just kind of picked them up and he's running with them. I think the best thing you can do towards Bryce is show him some grace. And I think as far as what Bryce can do is right now he could just humble himself, which I think he is doing, and be open to learning. That's the best approach.
Yeah, nicely put, man. I like that. And also, yeah, he put out a video, said he needs to improve. So, I mean, John Silver, man, that guy is just that guy is insane, submitting him like that. And he's a total package, from that.
He looks great. And I'll say this though, Bryce actually I thought looked pretty good. I didn't think Bryce looked bad. I thought he looked good in the first round, and then in the second round he was struggling a little bit more, and just that's the fight game. I think Silva made better adjustments.
I'll tell you what though, Bryce actually, when he fought Topuria as well, had some success in that fight. Go back and watch it before he got caught.
Yeah, he got takedowns
as well.
Yeah.
He's got real potential. Maybe he just needs to, focus on his training, maybe go travel a little bit, mess around with a few different trainers and just work a few parts of his game. But yeah.
I agree. I think that bring somebody into your camp who could help you improve. I mean, obviously, traveling to other teams and working with them can be really helpful, or finding, not changing your coaches, but finding somebody new who could add to your game. I think things like that are great. I love anytime I get an opportunity to have someone new teach, because then I get a chance to learn new things and grow. So just from watching it, there's a couple of things in my mind, like, okay, he could definitely improve his wrestling as far as as far as getting to the legs and finishing. I saw a bunch of things he could do better in terms of striking, but he actually did pretty well, I thought, in the first round. He did a good job with managing distance and things like that. In the second round, he seemed a little bit more overwhelmed, but I think there's definitely room for progress for him.
All right, guys, I just want to take a quick moment to talk about our sponsors, MANSCAPED and SAILY, and a big thank you to them for making it possible for me to bring this show to you. The Beard and Balls bundle from MANSCAPED is the place to go. It's your all-in-one grooming solution to keep you polished from head to toe, more precisely from beard to balls. It's got all-in-one grooming. The Beard Hedger is your go-to for precise beard trimming, and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra takes care of everything below the waist, because confidence starts with the right tools. You got customizable trimming, a dual blade system on the Lawnmower 5.0, which features interchangeable foil and trimmer blades, ensuring a smooth and comfortable experience, even in the sensitive areas. And what about this? The long-lasting power. Enjoy up to 60 minutes of runtime with a Beard Hedger and 75 minutes with a Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. And by the way, it is risk-free. That's right, guys. Manscaped is now risk-free. Get it on Manscaped's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can try the Beard and Balls bundle today, completely risk-free, with Manscaped's 30-day money-back guarantee. And that's not all. If you want to support this program, use the code word submission. You get 20% off and free shipping right now. That's 20% off and free shipping right now across the whole Manscaped website. I just want to thank Manscaped again for making it possible for me to bring this interview to you. Go to manscaped.com right now, get the Beard and Balls bundle, and get 20% off and free shipping right now with the code word submission. And for anybody looking to travel out there is no better eSIM than SAILY. SAILY has you sorted with its 115 virtual locations, super fast speeds, security features, and what about the fact that you guys get an ad blocker in the app as well, so you don't have to watch annoying ads and use up your data when you watch stuff all over your phone. What about the fact that you don't need to switch out your eSIMs because you can just use the one SAILY profile for everywhere you go? No more lining up at airports, no more having to take out SIM cards from your phone, putting new SIM cards in. SAILY gives you all of the options to get as much data for as long as you need. You got weekly plans, you got plans that last half a year. And SAILY always lets you know when you're about to run out of data. It gives you a little notification when you used up 80% of your plan, so you'll always have time to top up. No more sneaky roaming fees. No more being stressed out about, I just bought this plan in this weird country that's going to last me for 3 months, but I only need it for 3 days. SAILY has you sorted. And if you're a Submission Radio fan, you can click on saily.com/submission now and get 15% off your first purchase. Or go to saily.com and use the code word submission. Support this show and have the best traveling experience thanks to SAILY. It's a quick reminder while you're watching this interview, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Only 48% of you guys are subscribed. The ones that watch regularly, that really helps. And please click the little bell icon so you get notified when the shows come out. That's going to really help me bring out more content to you, more interviews, and keep the channel around for longer. And now, back to the program. King's MMA Anaheim, a good place maybe for him to start. Sounds like you've got some good ideas for him there, Beneil. Hey, let me ask you as well, dude. Everyone's wondering what's going on with you. Where is this next fight? The UFC was like, we'll make it up to. I don't see anyone making anything up to anyone. All I'm hearing is apparently it's going to be you versus Ruffy. Is that right? Is that going to be the next fight now? It doesn't really seem like they...
No, I haven't heard anything about Ruffy, to be honest with you. I saw him actually at in Miami, and we shook hands, but I haven't heard anything from the UFC about him. I've been told I'm going to fight in June, and it seems like it's going to be Moicano. Nothing's been confirmed, but that's the fight I'm hearing, and that's pretty much it. To get Ruffy, I don't think that really makes sense. How many fights does he have in the UFC?
Let me have a look at this, man. I mean, we're talking about the UFC and not out on the streets as a secret security guard, like assassin.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If that's the fight the UFC said, hey, this is the guy you got to fight, then okay, whatever. But that's
he outside of the Dana White Contender Series, which he won via TKO, he's had 3 wins in the UFC back to back. I mean, obviously, for people that don't know, that was against King Green, the big win, the big spinning wheel kick, and that was a UFC 313. So yeah, he's only been in the UFC since October 3rd, 2023, if you count in the Dana White Contender Series.
Yeah, so the UFC, I'll be honest with you, has never mentioned his name to me. So that's as much as I'm going to say on that. If that was the fight they're looking to do, they've never said anything to me.
And by the way, Moicano was there. Did you guys chat at all?
Just shook hands. I don't really have, or I think I said hello to him. We were kind of sitting far apart. I actually, like I've said before, I think Moicano, I think he's got a great message out there as far as economics go and things like that. I think he could turn it down a little bit about all that money stuff, but and more Jesus for me personally. That's how I would prefer it. But I think overall his message is good. But yeah, no, I didn't have a whole lot of interaction with him.
But it's one of those things, right, where it's like, I think, are you at that point where you're like, all right, man, just give me the fight. Let's just get in there. Let's just get this done. And then like, maybe okay, like it's not as sexy as what I thought like the UFC were going to give me, but Moicano, he's still a name and I can fight him. And then like, I can sort of show everybody I'm back. And then after that, let's just start looking at the rest of the division because it's so packed with so many names. Everything is like gridlocked. So by that point, hopefully there's more names open, right?
Exactly. I haven't fought in a year and a half now. I'm it's going to be a year and a half in June. So I was supposed to fight in January. I'm definitely itching to fight. So hopefully this June gets confirmed and I could just, be like, okay, I'm fighting in June. Let's go.
And is that over in stateside or is that international? Do you know?
I believe all the fights in June are stateside. I still don't know
Okay.
exactly which card. So I could be 8 weeks out, or I could be 10 or 11 weeks out, depending
Okay,
on what card. Because there's a lot of cards in June.
cool. All right. Well, that's cool, man. Hopefully you guys can actually main it. Hopefully it's a fun one with a crowd. It could be an Apex one where you guys main event it. I don't know. Do you like having a crowd? You like
I
having
don't.
a crowd? Or?
No preference.
Yeah. Those
I
Apex
do.
ones are a little bit weird though. They're a little bit sterile for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
There was that weird one. Did you watch 105 with Lorne Murphy? And there was like that guy heckling and the Apex he was walking out. And it was just like a nightmare card. Like it was just a brutal card from start to finish.
It's going to be a little bit different now, I think, because it'll be either International Fight Week or it'll be something apart. So I'm not sure exactly, because I know there's a card in New Jersey in June, and then there's International Fight Week. So it's just I'm not exactly sure what they're going to put me on, and because I think if it's Jersey, I think that's a pay-per-view, and then there's a pay-per-view in end of the June as well. But and then there's also, like you said, Apex cards, or I'm not sure if it's at Apex or a different location. It just, if it's Apex, there's pluses and minuses. If it's a pay-per-view, there's pluses and minuses. One of the things that I like fighting in the Apex is just how well I can hear everybody, including my corner and the other corner, and even sometimes the announcers.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually, man.
Commentators, sorry. The commentators, yeah.
Well, sometimes they say that the commentators are so loud that they're able to take in some of their information. I was going to say, you got June 1st, it's going to be Blanchfield Barbie. You got UFC 316, June 8th. That's going to be Marab and Sean and Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison. That'll be an interesting one. And you got the Hill Roundtree one as well on the 22nd of June. And then I'm hearing that apparently there might be like an Australian card in July, but I don't know if that's why I was asking, selfishly trying to get you down here. So
that'd be great, bro. I genuinely want to fight in Australia. I want to have at least one fight in Australia because such a big fan base there, a certain fan base. But I also don't want to pay the taxes. So maybe if one day
brother.
Yeah, if I'm rolling in the dough, that's when we'll talk about Australia. We'll see. Actually, if I get a chance to fight there, I'll take it.
All right, man. Okay, so we're excited. Announcement incoming. Possibly you and Moicano in June. In the meantime, what do you want people to look out for? What's happening at the gym? Anything cooking at the gym that people can come and be a part of? Anaheim, Kings Anaheim MMA in Anaheim.
Our gym is open to the public, so like the average person can train. And then I have a small team for MMA guys that I'm building now. I think in the next 2 to 5 years, you'll start seeing a lot more people from our gym entering the UFC, the PFL, and all the big shows.
Perfect. All right. Well, congratulations. Go have a break. You've had a crazy 48, 24 hours. I appreciate you taking some time and joining me, man. There he is, Beneil Dariush. Thank you so much, dude.
Thanks, brother.